Good afternoon to everybody. Welcome to the first webinar for the Open Call 2 webinar of the BIG IoT project. BIG IoT, as you may know, is a European funded project in the framework of Horizon 2020 program. We will give you now an introduction of the Open Call 2 and how you can apply for it. We are the following people. When you look on the next slide, we have Jelena Mitic. She is the project coordinator of the BIG IoT project, and she will provide you an overview of the whole project. Then we change to Mr. Arne Bröring, who is a technical manager of the project, and he will give you an overview about the BIG IoT architecture. And after these two persons, we will have a short first question and answer session. And after that, we get a short introduction to the Open Call 2 and the way how you apply for this Open Call 2. This overview will be provided by Claudia Simonato. She is from CSI Piemont, and she can provide you with all the necessary information for this issue. On the next slide, you find the agenda we planned. At the beginning, we have a discussion, a short overview from Jelena, provided over the project overview. Then Arne will speak 10 minutes about the architecture. Then, as I told, a first introduction to a first discussion on question and answers. Then we have an overview from Claudia about the second open call. And at the end, we have about 30 minutes to have another session for question and answers. On the next slide, we give you a short information about the rules and the way and what we plan for this webinar. The first is that this webinar will be pre-recorded, and this record will be put online tomorrow probably. The slides and the recorded presentation will be available online, as I told. When you hear this webinar, you can post your questions in the chat of this meeting, and we will try to answer them in the question and answer session. Sorry. And I would ask you please to mute your microphone during the presentation so that the presentation can go on without disturbance. So now I would hand over to Jelena for the project overview. Please, Jelena.
Okay, thank you, Jürgen. Hello, everyone. I'm Jelena Mitic from Siemens, and I'm a project coordinator of this project, of the BIG IoT project, as Jürgen already mentioned. I will tell you a little bit in a nutshell what is it BIG IoT all about. And on this slide, you see what is the challenge we try to address in the BIG IoT. And the challenge is the missing interoperability between existing heterogeneous and vertically oriented IoT platforms. Thus, the development of cross-platform and cross-domain application and services is today very tedious and very expensive. And it leads to the there is an echo. I'd like to ask you to mute your microphone. Thank you. So this leads to a problem that for many small innovative businesses and companies there is a high market entry barriers, and this is a reason why today we don't have a vibrant IoT ecosystem. In the BIG IoT project, we develop a solution for this, and our solution has several technology enablers. One of them is the BIG IoT API that enables to provide and consume IoT resources from different platforms in unified way. The second enabler is the marketplace, the BIG IoT marketplace, where you can share, can discover, use, and monetize IoT resources. We also have a tool that enables easy development of new cross-platform services and applications. In our project, we already have 8 IoT platforms that speaks Big IoT, that are already Big IoT enabled, and you can see here the list of platforms. Those platforms are mainly brought from the partners in the project. On top of these platforms, we have developed several services applications within our consortium, but also in the first open call, we have the external partners that brought their offerings to the Big IoT marketplace. On the next slide, you can see that in the Big IoT project, we have 3 pilots. One pilot in the northern Germany, in the cities of Berlin and Wolfsburg, and also on the corridor between these 2 cities. Then we have a second pilot in Barcelona and the third pilot in Piedmont. All the services and applications we have developed are in the domains of smart mobility, environmental monitoring. And here you can see a list of use cases that that we developed in the project, and also in the link that is here in the slide. There is a document. Maybe you already have a chance to look in this document. It's also on our webpage, where you can find a bit more detailed information about different use cases and pilots that we develop within our project. So you're probably also eager to know about the consortium and about the project. So Big IoT project started in January 2016 and will end of this year. We have 12 partners in the project and 2 linked third parties. As you can see, it's a very industry-driven consortium. We have big industry players like Atos, Bosch, Siemens, SEAT. We also have other partners, SMEs, universities, research institutes, companies that work very closely with the city administration. So it's a very, how to say, it's a consortium that have really a very good mixture of industry and research. So open call. In the Big IoT, we have reserves 750,000 euros for the third parties. So they have a chance to join our consortium and develop their own IoT solution based on the technologies that we develop in the Big IoT project. We have 2 open calls. The first open call ended, or the projects in the first open call ended in January this year. And for that call, we had 320,000 euros. In the second open call, we have a little bit more budget for the third parties. And as you know, the call was published on the 30th of January, and you can apply for funding until 4th of May. What we are looking for in this second open call. So you have a chance to provide 2 types of proposals in this open call. In the first, so the focus of the second open call is a bit broader than the one we had in the first open call. So the type 1 proposals, you can develop new services and application based on the data available on our marketplace. And the second type, you have to integrate first your IoT data sources platforms by using the Big IoT API and offer them at the Big IoT marketplace. And then you have to develop new services and application based on existing offerings and also the offerings you brought in the project. We are looking for the data sources in the domain of smart mobility, environmental monitoring, and they should also be related to the Big IoT pilots. So why should you join our project and become a part of our consortium? Well, it's as you can see, it's a very strong ecosystem that we already have. You can promote your solution and, of course, increase usage of your data. And you can enable, you can make partnerships with new partners from the consortium or partners from the second open call, and of course get the visibility in the European IoT community. As I already mentioned, the call is open until 4th of May, and the project, after the evaluation of the proposals, the projects will start somewhere in June. The selected projects will start somewhere in June, and the duration of your projects should be 5 months, so close somewhere in October, November 2018. So as I said, in the first open call, we had 6 projects, and they were very successful. We had a very good collaboration with all the projects, and here you can see a little bit comments, statements that we received from the first open call participants. And as I said, the collaboration was very good, and we expect in the second open call also to have good collaboration with the new partners. So that was all from my side. I will now give a chance to Arne to tell you a little bit more about the technology we developed in the project.
Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Arne Röhring. I'm also from Siemens, same as Jelena, and I will tell you a little bit about our developed architecture and technology. So, but before I come to that, maybe I also would like to motivate what we are doing here a little bit by introducing our objectives. First one that we addressed was is the platform interoperability. So what you see here is basically the pre-Big IoT state, where 2 platforms, the World Sensing platform in Barcelona and the VMZ platform in Berlin, both existing IoT platforms, offer parking data. So on the one hand, in Barcelona, the World Sensing platform gathers those data with ground level sensors. I think they are using ultrasonic to detect whether there's a car on top. And on the other hand, there's the VMZ platform in Berlin that uses light pole mounted radar sensors, so totally different technologies. Both detecting whether there's whether there's a parking spot available or occupied. Those data are then put into the IoT platforms and made available with 2 different interfaces. Also here on the API level, you see that indicated here with these different shapes of interface dongles on top of the platform. So this is this interoperability gap that Jelena already mentioned on her introductory slides, which we want to address here in this project. So so far what had to happen was to develop 2 apps, actually parking apps, to make this data available for these 2 different API flavors of interfaces. So what we are aiming to do is, or what we have done is to develop this Big IoT API as a common interface for such IoT platforms. And you see that now on top of these 2 platforms here, they have been extended, and then we can have one application, and we implemented that already. It's called the SEAT Park Finder, which runs in an Android phone, but also on the dashboard of SEAT cars, which can be used now to find parking spots in Barcelona, but also in Berlin, so the same interfaces, but from 2 different platforms. Another objective that we had was to foster the collaboration and monetization of IoT assets that are provided via IoT platforms. So assume the following: there's an app developer, could be yourself, who wants to develop a smart parking application, and then we have the requirements that it should find available parking and then reserve or pay for that parking also. So this can be facilitated, this development, by the BIG IoT marketplace, where the developer can go to and find or discover and find IoT resources, or what we call offerings. So offerings on the marketplace. They have all semantic descriptions, and then in this case now, maybe the developer finds already an offering that offers parking data, and also maybe a generic service that can be used to handle payments or reservation, for example. So this is why we developed this marketplace, to actually foster this reusage of offerings. Okay, so let's take a closer look at our architecture. This is basically, again, the first step here. So there's a consumer, an application, and a provider, the platform. Pre-BIG IoT, you basically had to develop now manually an adaptation of the application to the platform. And since we introduced now this marketplace and the API, the BIG IoT API, which has been implemented as libraries on SDK in form of the BIG IoT consumer lib and provider lib, this becomes now much easier because you can register at the BIG IoT marketplace your offerings from the platform. You can discover them from the application point of view, and then also access the data that the platform provides. So these offerings through the BIG IoT API using these libs. Yeah. And also what can be handled through the marketplace then is mutual accounting. So the provider tells the marketplace, okay, so much data has been consumed, and the consumer tells the same, and then we can use that in future also as a basis for payment, which is still to be done in our implementation. Okay, now a very important concept in our architecture is the so-called offering description. So the metadata description for these resources that we call offerings. It's on the one hand used here on registration of an offering from an IoT platform at the marketplace. It's also used to discover these offerings. So the model of the offering description is used here. And also at this position where we access an offering, the information contained in the offering description actually used here to make that happen. And we'll give you now a short overview of the offering description. This is basically it. It's a JSON document here, and you see at the top it carries a context, and that is based on a standard from the W3C Web of Things working group called Thing Description. And we extended this basically here to facilitate also these marketplace-specific things that we require. Additionally, what you see here now is the provider ID. In this case, it's the Barcelona city that offers this offering. And you see, for example, a name here, which is sensor level parking space information, so human understandable name. And now an important concept in our offering description is this one here. You see schema : parking site management. That is an annotation, a semantic annotation of this description, and basically means it's understandable by computers what this is from a category point of view. These semantic annotations, that's also what we use here on defining the input and output data of the offering. We semantically annotate them with terms that we defined in a controlled vocabulary that we publish, that we maintain in a community process, and that you also have to use when you offer your data on the marketplace, or you use or you implement an application that utilizes these offerings. So then these semantic annotations will become very important. Okay, in addition, there's some metadata here, the endpoint URL, for example, licenses, price, and so forth regarding this offering. Okay, then very important is for both perspectives, the application point of view and the provider platform point of view, is how to handle this access now. So access meaning data download of the application from the platform. Yeah, and that is displayed here now in detail on this page. We see at the top the service or an application which acts as a consumer and has hence the consumer lib here included, and at the bottom a device, typically a platform here, or a service that offers data and uses the provider lib to do that. So what's happening now to realize the access is that we define an offering description, upload it to the marketplace, and that describes now this part, this lower part here, the interface and metadata of the provider, the platform. And then the application or service gets hold of it to the marketplace, knows basically the content now, and can now send these access requests to the provider. Contains credentials from the marketplace, so essentially a token that allows you to do this access, and the input data here, which is essentially described in the offering description, what you need to put into this input data. That's then by the provider lib transferred into a platform-specific call, and then the response, again, platform-specific, so the original interface is used here, transformed into the BIG IoT way of speaking, and so the output data is returned by the provider and handed over to the consumer. And through the offering description that also contains descriptions of the output, the application can now handle this data. That's in a nutshell how the access works. Okay, so then this was the BIG IoT API. Let's quickly also talk about the marketplace. So first of all, I would like to clarify for whom the marketplace is. And often people think the marketplace, that should be for end users. It's something like a smartphone app store or something. Well, that's not the case in BIG IoT. We developed this marketplace actually for people like him, developers, IT guys, creatives. For example, now that we are focusing on mobility and smart cities, from a city council or from a company that develops apps for a city or for a mobility company, for example, yeah. And then they are actually looking for offerings, so data, IoT data typically, and that should be included in the applications. You can take a look at the marketplace. There's a production version available under this URL here, market.big-iot.org. It looks a little bit like what you see in the background here. You can also easily log in just by using your GitHub account, for example, or Google account, and then create providers and consumers. More information on all this technical stuff can also be found on the developer guide, and I really recommend also before you make your detailed proposal here and submit it to our open call, take a look at what it entails to interact with our ecosystem. This developer guide is rather concise, so it's not too detailed, but gives you a really good overview of what you need to do to use the BIG IoT API. Okay, and I have one slide left here that tells you a little bit about what you have to do to integrate with BIG IoT. So there are two different perspectives here now. Yeah, so from the type 1 point of view, type 1 project means, okay, you develop an application or service using what's available already on the BIG IoT marketplace. There's lots of offerings already consumable. And well, from this point of view, you essentially need to use the consumer perspective of the BIG IoT lib and to interact with the offerings from the marketplace, interact with the marketplace itself, and also utilize, of course, the offering descriptions that come from the BIG IoT marketplace, and then utilize the domain vocabularies that we offer to utilize these offering descriptions. And then, of course, you need to implement a nice application or a nice service that really appeals to the user and really brings value to our ecosystem. Well, for this consumer point of view, this rule here also applies. You need to keep your application or service running until the end of the project. Although your open call project might only run until somewhere October, November, you need to have it running, your application, have it available until the end of the project, which is end of December. Type 2 means you have data, you have or IoT things or something that you want to offer as offerings on the marketplace. So basically you also take this perspective, the platform, service or device provider point of view, and so you want to provide this, and at the same time type 2 also entails that you develop your own application or service that utilizes this. Then you can also combine it with other offerings that are already available, but of course this application should then also make use of the data you provide. And here even more this rule applies. The service platform or whatever you provide here with your offerings has to be available until the end of the project. Okay, and of course we are also looking for feedback on the things, the technology that we developed from the externals that come into our project. Okay, that's it, I think, from my side. So now there's a time slot for Q&A.
Okay, thank you, Arne. We have already 2 questions on this, especially on these types of proposals. Maybe, Arne, you can go back to the slide 27, because this is directly related to it, to the types. We have the first question was the first type 1 proposals. They focus on existing marketplace resources to build new applications and services. Do these new applications and services have to relate in some way to the BIG IoT pilot site and included platforms? So I do not know who will answer this. This especially means whether this new applications, which should be built for type 1 proposals, should relate in some way to the BIG IoT pilot sites. We have 3 sites, and the included the platforms which are already included in the BIG IoT marketplace.
Well, maybe I can answer that. So, if you are building the application and services based on the existing offerings, and these offerings are related to the BIG IoT pilots, so I couldn't imagine that they will not be related to the BIG IoT pilots. I mean, but maybe there are some cases that they will not be. They'll be more generic, which would be, I think, also fine.
Okay, and the second question was on the type 2 proposals. Do these new IoT platforms, sorry, moment, the next one. So, okay, for this type 2 proposals, do these new IoT platforms, you know, type 2, you also have to add the service, this new service platforms. Do these new platforms, again it's over, have to be already deployed on sites or cities where the BIG IoT pilots operate? You know, we have Barcelona, we have Berlin, and we have Piemont. So the question was for type 2 proposals, do these proposals already have to be deployed on sites where the BIG IoT pilots operate in these cities?
I can also answer this question, Jürgen. So yes, actually it is stated in the text that to integrate existing data offerings and platforms, we do not believe that within the 5 months of the duration of the project, nor with the available budget, you can really do something more, like deploying, for example, sensors in the cities. Moreover, because if you plan to bring some sensors to the cities, you need to have some permission already available before from the city administration. So I don't think that you can. I mean, maybe, but you have to provide really proof that that you have permissions and you know exactly what you want to do and where you want to deploy the new data sources. But we think that integration of existing platforms is more suitable for this time frame and this budget.
In this context, Jelena, we have a new question. This means, this asks, in this open call, are the data produced by some elaborations on the already existing big IoT datasets considered as new data source to be eligible to be integrated in the big IoT platform? So is it possible to extend this big IoT platforms in any way? And is this extension then a new platform? So far I understand this question.
So yeah, that's the question from Fabio. Fabio, correct me if I understood it wrong, but so this would be the first the type 1 of these 2 possible types of proposal, and that would mean that you use the existing offerings in the big IoT marketplace to provide new, more elaborated offerings based on this one. And this is definitely a new offering for the marketplace and can be eligible. I hope we understood your question correctly, Fabio.
Yeah, okay, he said yes. Good. So far we have now answered all the questions in the chat room. So I would propose to...
No, actually...
No?
No, actually we have more. So I see the question from Chari Liaos.
Sorry, yes, okay. I have overseen one question. Another question from Carilos. No, okay, we have 2 other questions. One question from Karilaos Akasiaris. I hope that I speak the name correctly. Are offerings in the marketplace charged per measurement reading? Per measurement reading, or developers pay once for unlimited access to the offerings data?
So I can answer that. To date, this charging for data access is not yet implemented by the marketplace. But we aim at essentially providing different options, so both would be feasible. However, you should not plan with this functionality of the marketplace for your open call projects, as we are not sure if this functionality will be available on time.
Okay. Then we have another question from Jiri. He asks about the type 1 proposals. Would it be also possible to have access for this type 1 proposals to larger historical data, for example, parking data, in order to develop analytical application consuming the historical data? So this means, in principle, if you have access to historical data, for example, for parking applications as well.
So I can also try to answer that. So in general, if you are thinking about developing such an analytical application, you should really identify the offering of interest for you. Via our marketplace, everything is already there and you can check it out, and you should really study if the offering provides what you require for these detailed analysis. So if it does provide such historical access, then you can also use it through the BIG IoT API. But you have to essentially look at it yourself.
Yeah, hello, Iri here. Thank you. Yeah, I was already looking there, and what I found was the real-time data on parking availability, and also quite some interesting data on air quality. But all these data sets are basically real-time data with no historical records there. So that was my question. Would it be possible maybe even to speak with your partners to get access to this historical data for any kind of analytical applications?
Okay, yeah. So if you identified already interesting offerings, we can indeed get into conversation about that. So I can't tell you right now. It depends on the offering. So maybe write an email to me, for example, and I try to forward it to the appropriate partners who provided this offering.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, at the moment now we have two other questions. I think they can be answered rather shortly, and then we should go on, because at the end we have another question and answer session. So these two questions are: first, is it possible to use or to update data already available on Smart DataNet? Thanks for your okay. Is it is it possible to use this data already available on Smart DataNet? Who can answer this question?
Smart DataNet is the platform from CSI. So this Luca.
Yes, it is.
So Claudia, could you answer it then?
Yeah. Well, technically, to implement a type 2 solution, you have to integrate a new platform. So if you aim to use data that are on Smart DataNet, Smart DataNet is already federated with BIG IoT. So what you have to do is to provide another platform to be integrated. Okay, that is my point of view on this aspect. You are not connecting a new platform if you are using one that is already federated. So you won't get any funding for this, because you don't have to work, how can I say, to federate a new platform and provide data on the marketplace. That's it.
Okay. And the last question again is from Fabio. He was asking about the questions before from him. Referring to my last question, I'm wondering if an elaboration of the existing data and then offering them to the BIG IoT platform could be also configured to be a type 2 proposal, together with an application that uses this data. So again, the question whether this extension could also be used to write a type 2 proposal instead of a type 1 proposal.
So maybe I try to answer that. So if I understand correctly, this seems more like a type 1 proposal, because you are using existing offerings to build a new offering. So this is a type 1 proposal. But if you have IoT platform that you want to integrate in the BIG IoT marketplace and the BIG IoT ecosystem, and then provide some new offerings based on the IoT resources provided by this platform, this would be a type 2 proposal. So Fabio, I hope we could answer your question.
Okay, Jelena, we have one quick question. Yes, you have right. You have answered this question, Fabio Rose. Another quick question, Peter, but this should be really the last question for now. Which mobile platforms are supported by the SDKs? Android, iOS, or something else?
Android.
Android. Okay. This was really a quick answer. Then I would think that we should give Claudia the chance now to describe the application process for the Open Call 2. And at the end, we can have another question and answer session to answer all your questions again. Thank you. Claudia, please, can you go on?
Yes. Yes, here I am. So my name is Claudia Simonato. I work for CSI, and for Big IoT project, I'm in charge of this activity concerning the open call publication. With my presentation, we will go through the application form and the other requirements that you need to know and to better understand in order to participate successfully to this opportunity. So, as you may have read already in the website, the open call is open to individuals, needs, universities, companies, and research institutes, startups, public agencies, public utilities, publicly owned societies, so a wide range of enterprises. They have to be already registered, so already existing from a legal point of view, and only one entity can propose a project. So we don't accept consortium of enterprises. And these entities have not to be necessarily located in the demonstration sites, or it is not so important, this aspect. What is important is to be eligible according to the H2020 rules. That means that the enterprise should be, for example, settled in a EU member country, or in a country that has particular agreement with the Commission to be funded, and you can find detailed information for this aspect on the website. And another important rule is that institutional organizations that are affiliated with one or more than one Big IoT partner are not eligible for funding. If you are doubt on this point, please contact us, because we have already informed the PO about some particular situations, and we have the detailed correct interpretation of this point. So we have to see each case if you have any doubt in a specific moment. Each participant can present more than one proposal, but be aware that only one will be then funded if selected after the evaluation. And also the participants and also the winners of the first open call can participate in the second open call, providing a value-added solution. We have two kinds of preference that has to be taken into consideration. The first one is if proposals are concerning the pilot areas. In this case, they will have, and if they concern the pilot areas, they will access to a reservation of the budget. So when we will have the final ranking, we will select proposals from the pilot areas for a maximum budget of 1,000 euros for each pilot area. And then we will go through the ranking list and choose other proposals. The second reference to be considered is that if the proposal matches one of the desiderata of the requirements expressed by the pilot, it will gain the full scorage for evaluation element, evaluation criteria, and I will explain it better when we will see which are the pilot requirements, so you will better understand. So, in the next slide, we will see that, as we have already discussed about these, the two types of proposals which can be selected. Type 1, just development of new applications and services based on the data available on the marketplace. If you had a look in these days to the marketplace, you may have experienced some problem in accessing, but now we fixed it, so you can easily see which are the data available for this kind of proposal. And type 2, as we were saying, platform integration and development of new applications and services based on the existing data or data that you have provided with the Platform Service Federation. what we are looking for with this open call. We can switch to the next slide. As you may understand, we are looking for IoT platform and data providers and developers, according to the two types of proposal that we are trying to obtain from the open call. The domains are the same of BIG IoT project, which are smart mobility, so everything that is connected with tracking, parking, availability of charging stations, and so on, and smart environment, such as air quality, noise control, and so on. Concerning the data, we said many times the data are not necessarily open, because, as Anna said, the project will provide solution for accounting, licensing, and also billing. So you can provide data for by now for the project and for your solution, and then be aware that they will be in some way managed in order to encounter your needs. IoT platform that contain open data and new development ideas are welcome, obviously. Proposals have to be written in English, and the budget is different. For the type 1 only development proposal is of 35,000 euros and 60,000 euros for the project of type 2, which are more complex, obviously. We can go on. So we can go to see what are the pilot requirements. I repeat that if you have a proposal that matches these requirements, you have the full storage for one evaluation criteria, so it will help to gain an higher scorage. Concerning the Northern Germany pilot, which is settled in the Berlin-Wolfsburg zone, this pilot asks for innovative IT service and applications for smart parking, integration of smart parking and smart charging to provide, for example, reservation and payment functionalities for parking places, parking spots at charging stations, which is an important information for users to have, and car sharing cars, multimodal mobility information, including the possibility for reservation and booking services for the different mobility options, and multimodal routing and navigation services, including, for example, messages concerning incidents and trip monitoring purposes. You can go on. Concerning instead the Barcelona pilot, but in Barcelona, we focus more on the car solutions. So the pilot asks for the development of new apps for in-car integration using existing protocols, which are named MirrorLink, Android Auto, or Apple CarPlay, based on all or existing IoT offerings to users. Further innovative IT services for smart parking, again, traffic monitoring, smart bike sharing, public transportation optimization, smart charging, and multimodal routing and navigation, again. They also ask to have the development of incentive-based green route planning for end customers, for example, which enables to make a demo with connected car using the navigator system, again, through MirrorLink or Android Auto. And Barcelona Pilot could also benefit from IT operator services and apps for payment, again, a reservation of parking places, and from services and applications supporting device-to-device communication in some way similar to the German pilot. Then we go to the Italian pilot. Here our requirements are more generic because our wish is to have more a development of application concerning smart parking, traffic monitoring and optimization, and use of air quality towards citizens, air quality data. And the cities of Milan and Vercelli have agreed to host pilot installation in their streets, so we are we think that for the moment in which the proposals will be active, we will have also real-time data, for example, data quality coming from these municipalities. But what I have to point out is you should not imagine to provide a proposal concerning smart parking, for example, in Vercelli, because it has already been developed, or it should be from the project itself. So you can provide this kind of solutions in another area of the region, because as you know, this pilot area concerns the whole Piedmont region. So you can develop these solutions concerning other areas of the region that are not considered by the project. As we said, the project focuses on Biella and Vercelli and provides this kind of solutions only in these municipalities. Okay, we can go on. Then, concerning the way for proposing an application, basically, I can suggest you to go to the website, in which you can find all documents that are necessary and that can be integrated in the proposal. So you also have some more information, for example, concerning the project overview, the marketplace offerings, and the eligibility and evaluation criteria that I mentioned before. You can go on. How it is possible to participate. You can apply through an application form, which is provided by F6S site. There is a one-stage process, a quite simple application form that you can complete in several steps, also not in a unique solution, but we can complete the system as an auto-save functionality, so you can go through it in several sessions. You can proceed. At first, the application form asks for some information concerning your enterprise and the team that will work on the project. It is important also to complete this particular stage of the application form, because evaluators will also consider your technical experience and maybe also the project you have already realized in order to evaluate the consistency of your team. So you should ask also your collaborators to join and to describe maybe their experience in the team session. Okay, proceed. The application form then is organized in several sections that go from, as I said, the participant basic info in session A, then the basic info concerning the proposal, the IoT solution description, aspects concerning the innovation and impact that you can imagine for your solution, implementation aspects, data management, for example, concerning privacy aspects, and other legal things that are also asked from the portal. So you have to go through all these sessions. Concerning, for example, the IoT solution, you have to provide a description of your platform, if you are providing one, to be federated, of your application, which you will find in every kind of proposal you are going through. A technical description. You can also upload a complementary technical description that is a free text, 2 pages text to better describe the solution you are thinking of. Then there's the possibility to better clarify the duration of project, which I remember the maximum duration is 5 months, and a list of deliverables that you plan to deliver. 2 deliverables are mandatory for proceeding the scheduled payments, which are intermediate and final technical report, in which you will describe the state of the art of your proposal. Then you can also add other deliverables, which are, for example, software, documents, and so on. And you have also a template to fill in your list of deliverables, and then it has to be uploaded in the application form. The budget for implementation, and here I can say that you have to pay attention and not to put a budget that is higher than the maximum concerning the specific type of proposal, because if not, the proposal will be discarded. So please remember this aspect. You have also to provide a little travel budget for at least, we give some suggestions, at least a pair, I think, of travels, because you will have to participate for sure to the kickoff and then also to the final meeting in order to present your solution, and the total budget, which is the budget for implementation plus the travel budget. Okay. And here is the deadline for this open call. So remember that the deadline is May the 4th. We will have evaluation made by external evaluators, which usually are experts coming from universities and the academic world, and they are absolutely external, and we do not have anything to influence them, just for you to know, which is the right process concerning also transparency requirements, and they are selecting in a way to be enough informed about the context of your proposal from one side, and to be also enough critical to better evaluate it. After this evaluation period, we will give you the notification of winners. Usually, we not only publish the final report concerning winners, but we also contact each participant and with a report of the evaluation in any case, also if you do not win, because we find this useful for you in any case. And the project will start in the 18th of June and will go on for 5 months, as I said. To start your project, you will have to undersign an agreement with Siemens, because you will be a partner of the project in the role of third parties, Siemens third party. And on the site, you can also find the collaboration agreement that will be proposed to you. Okay. For other doubts, you can reach for us. There is a FAQ section on our website with some of the most recurrent questions that we received. You can, until the 13th of April, access to the pre-feasibility check. So you send us just a synthesis of your proposal, and we will give you some indications. And also you can contact us through our email contact at helpdesk, and we will answer to your doubts. Then we can say already that there will be the kickoff in June in Munich, so that you can already plan if you will be winner to be there. And the support team is made up by me and Jürgen, and the technical team is led by Arne. So I think that is all. There is another slide with some more reference. And I can say good luck for your work, and we hope to have you all possibly aboard in the Big IoT team. I don't know if there are new questions.
Yeah. First, a question to Claudia.
Yes.
Ask the question on the auditorium. There is another question or some other questions just to be in the chat room. One question is there any list on our website available with the first calls accepted proposals?
Mm-hmm. Yes, Jelena has answered. Mm-hmm.
Yes, so I just put the link to where we reported about the first open call and the results of the evaluation. But Kareliaus, if you are interested more about the projects and the results of the projects, at the moment this is still not published on the website. But we can think about doing that. At the moment, you can find all the information about the partners who won the first open call.
I may add that if you go in the newsletter that are instead published on the website, you can find some interviews done to the open call winners, the first open call winners, in which they describe their solution. There are some materials, maybe also videos. I don't know. There is some more focus on what they prepare, even though this is not the really technical final report of their project, but you can find some more information there.
Okay, thank you. There is just one other question in the chat room. One of us is wondering about the environmental use cases. Is this only air quality, or could environmental use cases about water be relevant?
Well, also water, I think, is within the environmental issues. Be careful that I did not mention it, but maybe it can be understood. Generally, the project focuses on cities and on smart cities issues. So you have to see if this is an environmental issue that can interest a urban area, because this is the main focus since the pilots are in Barcelona, Berlin, and in two little towns of Italy, but in any case, we are in a urban area. Okay, maybe there's another question.
Yes.
Concerning the funding.
Yes, from Shiri. Regarding the funding, is it in a form of a lump sum, or does timesheets need to be kept? And is the cost claim based on timesheets?
So maybe I can ask this question. As Claudia mentioned already, if you are selected to receive funding, you will have to sign the collaboration agreement with Siemens, with us. And if you're interested to find out more about this, you can find the template of the collaboration agreement in our web page in these important documents that Claudia mentioned. And there it is also a template for the reports, for the intermediate report and the final report you have to produce in order to receive interim payment and the final payment. And therefore, we don't need timesheets. But you can check more there what we actually are asking for.
And I think also that in the collaboration agreement there is more specific indication of the cost that can be eligible.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Jelena, for the answer. At the moment, I see no other question on the chat in the chat room. Is there any other question from the auditorium to us, from the Big IoT team at the moment? If not, so maybe two final remarks from my side. We recorded this session, this webinar session, and we will put this record and the slides we have shown online. I will send around the link to this record and slides tomorrow or the next few days. The second remark was we plan a second webinar middle of April. So if you have some doubts or some additional questions, you can either directly send an email to one of us from the BIG IoT team, or you can participate again in the second webinar, middle of April. We will distribute the date at the end when we decided to all in all information channels, Twitter and so on, and newspapers from BIG IoT, internet as usual, and so you can take part or you can participate in the second webinar as well. So I think if there is no more question, we can finish this webinar for today. Thank you very much for taking part, and good luck for your if you plan to apply for the open call too, and maybe we see later in this open call again for discussion and for the common work. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.